New York, New York. It's a hell of a town. But bloody hell, it used to be hard to get across to Manhattan. In the mid-1800s, Manhattan was already a bustling metropolis, but the crossing from Brooklyn to Manhattan was only serviced by slow, limited ferry services. One man had a mad vision. He would take the suspension bridge design, known in Europe for falling and dropping their deck into the river below, and improvise upon it to solve the city's commuter problem. The construction of his masterpiece would see death, injury, an unknown illness, fraud, and ultimately the world's longest suspension bridge of the day by far. This week on Cheeky Tales, we're walking here as we cover the story of the construction of the Brooklyn Bridge. Yeah, there you go. Brooklyn Bridge, baby.
Brooklyn Bridge. Isn't that a Jay-Z song? Is it Brooklyn Bridge?
You might be thinking of No Sleep Till Brooklyn.
Yeah, no, that's not a Jay-Z song.
You're thinking of Empire State of Mind.
Yeah, that's probably the one.
Yeah,
he says
in New York.
Yeah, most
concrete
famous
jungle where dreams are made of.
Famous superhero from Brooklyn is
Spider-Man.
No, he's from Queens.
Spider-Man.
Captain America.
There you go.
From Brooklyn.
Cool.
Spider-Man's from Queens. There you go.
Do you even know what the Brooklyn Bridge looks like, boy?
I'm going to say a bridge.
Yep.
Suspension bridge.
Yep. It's the one with the wooden walkway on top where like people are walking above the cars. It's the oldest bridge in New York, and it's the big stone one.
I know what it looks like now.
Yeah, you would know it. If you don't know it, go look at it now. It's pretty.
Yeah, nice. It does look nice.
What a heavily features in the intro to Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
That's probably where I've seen it from.
You've probably seen it from every establishing shot of New York.
Yeah.
In every show.
And yeah, any New York-based game. Question.
Yes.
Is this appropriate?
Yep.
Okay. Just wasn't that long ago we had a suspension bridge collapse.
That was not a suspension bridge.
Okay.
That was an arch bridge.
Oh, I'm sure you'll go in the difference.
Nope.
Never mind. Where was that bridge that collapsed? Was that?
That was in Baltimore.
That's right, Baltimore. Yeah.
The Francis Key Scott Memorial Bridge, which they just blew up part of it on the ship, on the bit that was stuck on the ship.
No, the ship blew up part of it.
Oh, is that appropriate?
People lost their lives. Tragic. Feels like this keeps dropping, and I'm getting lower and lower.
All right. Well, yeah, it wasn't just the building of a bridge. There was a whole bunch of stuff that went on.
Okay.
And kind of surprising that it's actually still standing, considering everything that went on. So,
all right. So I've just quickly Googled Brooklyn Bridge to see what it looks like. And have you get like the questions that come up under me? Why is the Brooklyn Bridge so famous?
Because it was the first one.
That's okay. Yep. No, you know
over 130 years old.
What are 5 facts about the Brooklyn Bridge?
1, it's a bridge. Well,
I'm going to think you are going to go into all those facts, so I'm not going to say them.
Yeah, probably a good idea. All right, well, let's get into it. The first section I've called Forget About It.
The Brooklyn Bridge is free to walk across. It is not a toll bridge.
No. I wasn't going to cover that fact. So
well, there you go. Thank you. I'm helping.
Why even build a bridge? Well,
to get over it.
That's exactly it. Why did the chicken cross the bridge? Because it had to cross the river. Well, as I said in the intro, because people wanted to cross it.
Is this the Hudson River?
No, this is the East River.
East River. Okay.
The Hudson's the other side.
I actually really don't even really know the geography of New York. I know Queens Park is somewhere in the middle.
That's in Manhattan. Manhattan's an island in the middle.
Central Park. Not Queens Park. Queens Park is...
That's the middle of Ipswich. I love how I just went with that too. I knew exactly what you were talking about and just went, yeah. So Manhattan's an island in the middle of New York. And then you've got Brooklyn's like off the bottom right.
5 boroughs? Brooklyn,
5 boroughs.
Queens.
I think Queens is at the top. You got...
Can you just get your like King of New York board game out? We can work it out.
What are the 5 boroughs? Manhattan, Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island... The
Bronx.
Village? Oh, the Bronx.
Staten Island, Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn, and Manhattan.
Yeah. Guess I forgot the Bronx. You all know New York. It's a big old place with a lot of people. And even in the mid-1800s, it was pretty damn busy. Brooklyn and Manhattan were still two separate cities. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
Brooklyn was not part of New York originally. And it was becoming increasingly vital to move people between the two quickly. There were no bridges connecting the two, and so ferries were the only option, which caused one hell of a commute, especially when the river froze.
Oh, so they moggled it.
Yeah, they moggle ferried it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Famous ferry in Ipswich that is constantly out of service and will not be replaced by a bridge because rich people live on the other side.
Slowest ferry in the world, and it's got to go like 10 meters and it takes half an hour.
It's ridiculous. Every time you go past on the train in the morning, there's like 100 cars waiting, and you just think, build a bridge. But the rich people on the other side are like, we don't want our suburb turning into a racetrack. Like, you're just going to have a road like the rest of us. Shut up. Anyway, very local politics there to a place that I don't live anymore. It was decided by the city of New York and the city of Brooklyn that they should build a bridge, and opened up for proposals in the 1850s for designs. Various engineers would put forward designs for chain and link bridges, but they were all denied due to the immense difficulty of building a bridge high enough to allow free flow of boats along the East River beneath. Eventually, a very bold design was put forward by a man named John Roebling, a suspension bridge.
John A. Roebling. Yep.
John A. Roebling was a German-born American who had been born in Mulhausen in Germany in 1806. You like that one?
Is that how you have to say it? Like if I was
you do have to say it in the slightly stereotypical German voice.
So like if I was to actually go there and be like, oh, I'm finally here in Mulhausen.
Oh man, I'm so glad I'm in Mulhausen. And all the people are like, you were local? So he was born in 1806 and had studied architecture and engineering. During the era leading up to the design of the Brooklyn Bridge, suspension bridges were in their collapsing era.
Taylor Swift's aerial
tour. Suspension bridges had a bit of an image problem, namely that they kept collapsing in bad weather or under heavy load.
So how many suspension bridges would have been built before then?
There was a few,
okay,
but in like the few years before this, 4 of them had collapsed.
And how long had that? Like how long had it been up for before collapsing?
Like a few years.
Okay, so
I only did very little research into the ones that had collapsed before.
Not like months after being built.
No.
Okay.
There is that famous suspension bridge. You've probably seen the footage where it's like
Golden Gate
wobbling.
Oh.
No, the one that's like got a car on it. It's like wobbling like all hell and then collapses. Mythbusters did an episode on it.
Oh.
Maybe I'll link that. Maybe I won't. So yeah, they kept collapsing in bad weather or under heavy load. All over the Europe and US, bridges were Humpty Dumptying themselves as the cables frayed and snapped, falling down.
Yeah, I got it.
Which would dump the bridge deck and anyone on it into the river below.
Not great.
One of the things that you want in a bridge is that it doesn't dump you in the river.
Yeah.
So when they're not doing that, not ideal.
That's not that bridge's fault. It got crashed into.
Ugh. Yeah, maybe this is a bit too close to home for that. Considering multiple times this happened due to the resonance caused by marching soldiers, they usually resulted in many deaths.
Hang on. So it wasn't necessarily an excess of vehicles or horse and carts or anything like that. It was soldiers marching, and because they were in time creating such a large shockwave, it was creating the bridge to fall.
Yep. So the resonance of like, as they marched across made the bridge go like this, and then it would just go snap, and down they'd go.
Would never have thought of that.
Yeah. That's what happened in the footage that I was talking about before. It was windy and the wind was making it like
bounce. Yeah.
Yeah.
Marching soldiers, more dangerous than you think. Well, not really. They are pretty dangerous, really, especially if you're in battlefield.
Soldiers. Yeah. Roebling had worked out the secret, though. Combine the designs of 2 different bridge types.
Ooh.
In traditional suspension bridges, 2 tall towers would be constructed and connected to anchor points on the towers themselves and the anchorage on the sides of the river with long cables, which would then hold the weight of the bridge deck with shorter, smaller vertical cables.
Yeah, so the dip in between, there's one long cable and the actual
road of the
part
bridge
is suspended by those.
Yeah. So the cable
droppers
holds the deck up by vertical cables.
I've never actually really thought of how how that works, but it makes sense.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah. While this was a good design for holding long bridge decks, the weakness was that any resonance in the road deck would transfer directly to the supporting cables, causing the whole structure to flex. Roebling had decided to combine the design with those of cable stay bridges, which held the road deck with diagonal cables directly from the towers. This would lower the weight on the suspension cables and increase the stability of the bridge deck by transferring some of the weight and resonance directly to the tower rather than the cable. So a cable stay bridge, you've still got two towers, but the towers have diagonal cables that connect directly to the road deck. So there's nothing combining the two towers together. So his design was you have the suspension bridge, which is the single cable with the vertical ones holding up the deck, and then also diagonal ones holding up the deck directly to the tower. So you've got the length of the suspension bridge and the stability of the cable stay. Very engineering heavy this episode. Roebling had proven this design with the Cincinnati Covington Bridge over the Ohio River in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati Bengals, who day?
Week 1 of the NFL preseason, Bucks Bengals.
Oh, you're going to hear about that.
Cannot wait for the Bengals to destroy the Bucks because that's what happens every time they meet in the preseason.
You are going to hear about that game.
Yeah, quick sidebar. The NFL season this year, all 3 of my friends' teams who are into NFL, we play them. So Bucks Bengals week 1 preseason, Bucks Jags week 2 preseason, don't really count.
They're preseason games, no.
My birthday, Bucks Cowboys. Cannot wait for that one.
You're going to have it.
I'm either going to have a great day or Cheesy's going to be a real smug prick. I'm waiting for it, Cheese. Roebling had proven the design of the Cincinnati Covington Bridge, so he had pedigree behind him. There were also other examples of bridges using this design, so Roebling set to work designing an absolute monster of a bridge. The longest bridge of this kind in the world at the time was the aforementioned Cincinnati Covington Bridge.
Over the river?
Over the river in Ohio.
Ohio River.
With a deck spanning 322 metres.
Ooh, that's a long bridge.
That is a long boy.
That's 3 and a bit football fields.
It is. It is. Oh, I should have done I love doing the Subway foot long comparison.
How many
6-inch subs would that be?
All right, so how long was it?
322 metres. The Brooklyn Bridge would need to be more than 1.5 times longer at 486 metres. The towers would be 83 metres tall, 26 metres wide, with the deck being 39 metres above the high water mark. The total length of the bridge, including its 2 approaches, would be 1.8 kilometres.
Whoa, that's a big bridge.
That is a big boy.
1.8 kilometres. So the Ohio Bridge was like, what, 323 metres?
322, yep.
Oh, sorry, hang on.
Get those extra subs out of there.
Yeah. It's going to be an extra like 6 subs or something.
How many Subway foot longs long?
2,112 6-inch subs long.
That's a lot of subs. There's a Subway opening near my work. We're all very excited.
Very nice. Cookies.
In 1867, a bill would pass the New York State Senate allowing the construction of the bridge, and shortly afterwards, a master plan was submitted by Roebling for the design. People in New York and Brooklyn immediately started comparing the project to the Suez Canal and the Transcontinental Railroad, saying the impact would be huge and the design was stunning.
So the Suez Canal was done before?
Yeah, I want to say that was like the 1800s.
I find that channel of water so fascinating, like how they do it. It's incredible. Who thought of that? Probably could actually.
1869, nice. It was finished. So it was actually around the same time.
Could probably actually look it up.
What do you mean?
Who invented it?
French diplomat Ferdinand de Lesseps. There you go.
Like, I just find it's incredible, like how they're able to fill up one part. And...
You're thinking of the Panama Canal.
Oh, what's the Suez Canal then?
The Suez Canal is the one that's like cuts Egypt in, like between Africa and.
Oh no, I'm thinking of the Panama.
Yeah, you're thinking of the Panama Canal,
which they fill like.
Yeah, it's got all the system of locks that like.
Yeah, and the height difference is just.
Yeah,
it's like
takes ships uphill by putting them into a lock.
Yeah,
filling it, and then they go into the next one, fill that one,
and then they go across and then they lower it down the other side. Yeah, I find that just incredible feat of engineering.
Super cool. Killed so many people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, building that thing was like Malaria City.
Oh,
Anyway, that might be a future episode. By 1869, nice people had realized it was going to cost taxpayer dollars, and so were saying it was too big, too flashy, too expensive, and would be too difficult to build. Roebling offered to host a bridge party, which doesn't sound like the most fun thing of all, where he would show off his designs. This did win people over.
Oh, really? I was going to say, come have a party. I'm going to show you my bridge. No, that is not a metaphor. I'm actually going to show you my bridge.
Come have a look at my bridge, baby. It's a suspension.
Send bridges.
Send bridges. Unsolicited bridge pig. There would just need to be some finishing touches done to complete the surveying of the site.
Some finishing touches on the bridge pics.
On the bridge pics. I hope that's recorded.
Because that could be a little bit.
There would just need to be some finishing touches done to complete the surveying of the site, and the project could get underway. Unfortunately for John Roebling, the jetty he was standing on to complete the surveying would be hit by a ferry, crushing his foot and causing the amputation of some of his toes.
Whoa.
He would contract a tetanus infection and died a month later.
Whoa.
The bridge had claimed its first victim. So it has killed, this killed the designer of the bridge.
Before construction had even started.
Yep. They were doing the final surveying. He's dead.
Jeez.
Yep.
How long did until the crushing to the tetanus to the death?
1 month.
Damn.
Yeah. So his foot got crushed. They amputated the toes. He got tetanus. He died all in a month.
Tetanus is the tuberculosis of the East. West. East. Yeah.
Thankfully, it turned out that John's son, Washington Roebling, happened to be a trained engineer and would slip nicely into the role to replace him.
That was maybe he planted the ferry that killed his father just to take over.
Oh, no. We've got a conspiracy. That must have been a pretty emotionally intense job interview.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry about your dad. Do you want his job?
Kind of reminds me of the start of Avatar.
What, because it's boring as shit?
No, because...
What, because everybody's forgotten about it?
No, because Jake Sully, he wasn't meant to be... Jake Sully. He wasn't meant to be the Avatar driver. His twin brother died before they could do it, so he took his place.
Sure.
It's very similar.
I guess the Avatar universe is...
Not father and son, it's twin brothers.
Ours. Yeah. Construction begins in a New York minute.
Oh, we didn't do a pun.
In a New
Last episode.
York minute.
We didn't do a pun this episode either.
No, we didn't.
Oh, boy, make me a bridge and help me get over this story. That's really...
That was... Are you proud of that?
Oh.
Bridge the gap in my knowledge?
Nah, yeah, that's not too bad.
That's better.
That's not too bad.
Despite the demise of its designer, the construction of the bridge would begin in January of 1970, just months after the death of Roebling Sr.
Did they not count the death of the designer engineer as a red flag? Maybe.
Apparently not.
Maybe we shouldn't do this. This is off to a bad omen. They believed in omens and stuff back then.
Yeah.
Right?
No mention of that whatsoever. I thought the same thing.
Okay.
So construction begins in January of 1870, just months after the death of Roebling Sr.
Mm-hmm.
The first step was the hardest, building the foundation for the towers. This would rely on a largely untested technology.
Now that you mention it, let's let me bring something up.
The technology was pneumatic caissons.
No.
You just cut me off 2 words at the end of my sentence.
Sorry, boy. You mentioned the towers, which sparked a memory.
You say the Twin Towers, I swear to God.
Wow. A memory in my brain.
That's where they normally are.
Let me find... I'll continue talking about the bridge towers.
Right. If you imagine holding a cup upside down in a sink of water, trapping the air inside, that's essentially what these things were. They were giant airtight wooden boxes that would be filled with compressed air to push the water out once they were submerged on the riverbed. Workers would then enter airlocks to make their way inside, and would work in the cramped, hot conditions by candlelight to dig out the riverbed beneath the Kazon.
So in an upside-down cup,
Just
working.
digging the riverbed out.
That sounds really sucky.
Yeah. As the Kazon was dug into the riverbed, bricks would be placed on top, which would weigh it down, and eventually the Kazon would hit bedrock, be filled with concrete, and would become the foundation for the tower.
Yeah, okay. That's smarter. Using that as the footing.
The Brooklyn side Kazon would be built first, followed by the Manhattan side. While this seems simple in theory, in practice, it was a nightmare. Oh, is that a Lego set with a bridge? Oh, it's the Avengers.
It's a Spider-Man Lego set.
Right.
But is that not, would that be the Queen's Bridge? Do they have something similar?
Yeah,
or is that
it'd be
not the
something
Brooklyn
different.
Bridge?
Maybe it's meant to represent the Brooklyn Bridge, but it doesn't really look like it.
Okay.
While the Kazon building seems simple in theory, in practice, it was a nightmare for those that worked on it. Firstly, it would be hot, humid, and full of candles, which is a pretty decent recipe for fire, which would happen multiple times, causing the Brooklyn side Kazon to be filled with water multiple times to douse multiple fires.
Were there people in there?
Yeah. So they weren't in there when it was flooded. They got them out and then flooded it. But yeah, imagine how terrifying that would be.
I mean, that's the Queensboro Bridge. That's not the same as the Lego set. It was a chunky boy like the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah, but it's a single arch.
Because it's only one half of a bridge. You only get like the end of it.
Okay, well, maybe it's meant to be the Brooklyn Bridge, but I don't know. I meant like within the, like if you look at the Brooklyn Bridge, there's two arches.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yep.
The original Golden Arch. The Manhattan Kazon would be redesigned with fireproof plate iron, which significantly reduced the chance of fire, and was launched in May of 1871. While there was no longer much fear of fire, there was a new fear. A new and completely unknown illness that was sweeping the workers.
Oh, is this like what do they call it? Like the deep stuff of the nitrogen bends?
Kazon disease.
Oh, not the bends where they get nitrogen in the brain coming up too quick?
Yeah, it was that.
Okay.
They didn't know that though. Workers were coming down with dizziness and pain. In more severe cases, paralyzed limbs, and at its worst, straight up death. Within just 5 months, doctors would treat 110 workers with the mystery illness, and 3 workers died.
That's not too bad. Like,
I was going to ask you what you thought it was, but you've already got that.
Yeah, 103 out of 110's, that's not too bad.
Considering it's the bends, yeah.
Like, have a stint in the iron lung for you. I guess the iron lung hadn't been.
That was for polio.
Did
You just stay in a pressurized room and
that's
depressurize
right,
it. Yeah.
Very similar to an iron lung, though.
Yeah, it's just pressurized.
Yeah.
The high pressure of the air within the Kazon on the Manhattan side meant that workers returning to the surface were experiencing the nitrogen in their blood expanding in the same way that deep-sea divers are affected. The illness was so widespread that it even paralyzed Washington Roebling during a site visit. That's the new designer of the bridge.
Yeah, the son of the original designer.
Yeah.
And what, he had gone down?
Yeah, he went down to inspect what was happening and got the bends.
And so this is only on the Manhattan side. So what is the difference between?
It was deeper.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So it claimed the second victim from the Roebling family.
Oh, he died?
No.
Oh.
But he was paralyzed from the waist down.
Really?
Washington wouldn't be able to leave his home and would be confined to a wheelchair.
All right. So John's grandson takes up the mantle.
Thankfully, Washington had a window that had a view of the construction.
You were about to say a son.
With the help of a telescope, he would be able to continue giving advice to those still constructing the bridge.
So he Bart Simpson did it.
Yeah. As it turned out, a telescope wasn't the only thing he had to rely on. As it so happens, his wife, Emily Warren Roebling, was able to take messages from him to the workers on site. She wasn't just a messenger, though, as she was adept with mathematics, strength of materials, bridge specifications, and cable construction. Basically all the things required to build a bridge.
Yeah, just a bridge engineer.
Yeah, in everything but qualification.
Because she was a woman. Yeah, we know. It's the 1800s, whatever. She was a bridge engineer. Just call it what it is. She was one without the official piece of document.
She actually became an icon for the women's suffrage movement.
Yeah, nice.
Over the next 11 years of construction, she would take over day-to-day supervision and project management, essentially leading the project on site. So she'd go back to Washington and be like,
yep.
Hey, you cool with this? And he'd be like, yeah, okay.
All the way back to Washington.
halfway there. The caissons were completed by 1872, and its towers took a further 4 years. During the construction of the towers, the $5 million budget was hit, which meant the two cities would need to put forward another $8 million to complete it. That's right, the budget almost tripled before the towers were even built.
And
nice to know that things haven't really changed.
Yeah, they haven't done the cabling or the deck yet.
No. They hadn't even finished the towers.
No.
The anchorages were built between 1873 and 1876.
I mean, how much work cover did they have to pay out?
Probably not much because it's the 1800s. Like, you died? Oh, you should have been more careful. So the anchorages were built between 1873 and 1876, and both were built with wine cellars in them, called the Blue Grottos, to supplement the income of the bridge. These were used by winemakers right up until Prohibition shut them down. Cheeky verse.
Oh, cheeky, yeah.
As the constant temperature inside was perfect for the aging of wine. With the anchorages and towers finished, it was time for the cables.
I mean, that's smart. Like, you've already got this here. Like, why not?
They're still in there. I wonder what they do with them now. I would hope they're not just empty spaces.
Huh.
You looking at them?
No, I was thinking, like, obviously the death in construction, not great. I was thinking, like, these people dying while building this was, what, 1870s, 1860s? I'm like, I wonder if people are, like, drowning building this bridge while people are falling off the Empire State Building while it's being built. Empire State Building was built from 1930 to 31. So, no, that didn't happen.
Not at the same time.
No.
Over 5,600 kilometres of metal wire would be required to hold the 14,680-tonne road deck.
Hang on, say that again. 5,000.
600 kilometres of metal cable. Yeah.
Wow. How many 6-inch subs is that?
That's a lot of 6-inch subs. That's a lot of Italian BMTs.
I'm not doing the conversion on that.
See, the reason it's so long is that each cable that you see is not one cable. It's a bunch of cables wound together.
Like braided type of thing. Yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty important to get the right contractor. In 1876, requests for bids would be sent out. And out of the 8 companies that responded, a man named J. Lloyd Hague from London would be selected to provide the cabling. He was a British bloke, come over and started doing cabling. As it turned out, Hague was nothing better than a slimy slug.
Oh.
As it was discovered during the cable installations, when it was too late to remove them, that he had been providing cables that were too brittle and didn't meet the standards set for the bridge. The scam he had run had been simple. Buy some high-quality cabling from a reputable contractor, use that to prove you construct quality cables, then bait and switch throughout construction with the cheaper, lower-quality steel. He would manage to switch out the cables by loading the wagons with high-quality cabling, pass the tests, and then secretly unload the good cables and load up the bad ones before delivery. He would then recycle the good cables for the next inspection. Pretty dodgy. So yeah, he's doing just straight up fraud on the biggest project in New York.
Like, that'd be a large contract too. So, like, he'd be raking the money in.
Oh, yeah. It was too late to swap out the crappy cabling, but thankfully, the design John Roebling had put together had enough fail-safes built in that accounting for the poor cables only meant adding a few additional wires around the installed ones.
Oh, so they still use them?
Mm-hmm. They're still there today.
So this brings up the question we brought up in the coin episode. Is it fraudulent?
Yes. Because if they just used the bad ones, the bridge would have collapsed. So they had to...
But they still used them. They just
but they had
extra.
to augment them.
Yeah.
So they had more cables than they were supposed to.
They still got used.
Oh, it's fraud. What do you mean? Hague had to pay for the cabling.
Still got used.
With the cabling fiasco behind them, construction continued with the installation of the bridge deck, and construction finally finished in 1883. Before the official opening, the first person to walk across the completed bridge would be Emily Roebling, in honour of the amount of work she'd put in saving the project and keeping things moving. You thought I was going to say Washington, didn't you?
No, he's paralysed. That's terrible. Why would you make that joke? I thought you were going to say the first person who walked across it died.
Oh, it just fell off.
Yeah, fell off or just had a heart attack or something.
Apparently, I read a story that I didn't include about they built temporary cables between the two towers to like do the proper cable installation. And they did it by like looping the cable between the two and then spinning it together. And then they got a guy to go along on like a hanging trolley thing. And like a whole bunch of people turned out to watch him just like just work his way across the bridge. So they're just watching a single dude on one wire. Just like, well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Again,
Man.
just showing that people will show up to watch anything. The official opening of the bridge.
Sorry. If you're walking through town, you're walking through across the Story Bridge, and there's a guy hanging from like one of the cables or something.
And it's the first person to cross the river,
And you're just, and he's just like hand over hand. You're not stopping to watch that?
I'll stop for a bit.
Exactly. Exactly. You are no better.
Yeah, but like, I'm probably not going to go out of my way to go see that.
Oh, I did say you were happen to be there.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I happen to be there, of course I'm going to watch.
All right.
The official opening of the bridge took place on May 24th, 1883, and was an absolute belter of a party.
1883, when was construction started? Like, what's the mass there? How many?
It was 1874, I want to say.
Okay, so 9 years.
1870? Yeah, it was 1870 the first Kazon got dumped in the water.
Okay, so 13 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
A massive fireworks display was set off.
Oh, nice.
And thousands upon thousands of people would walk the length of the bridge to celebrate its arrival.
Any deaths when that happens? No. Nothing like the balloon first where a firework went off into someone's face.
No deaths at the opening party.
Okay.
P.T. Barnum, yes, the circus guy, would even suggest getting a herd of elephants to walk across the bridge to show off its strength.
Oh.
But wisely, the city decided that might get out of hand. With people walking along, elephant walking along, you don't want that.
Well, if you've got soldiers that are marching, causing awareness for these things to fall, like if you've got like a bunch of elephants doing the same thing, like that's obviously a lot more.
Yeah, but like it's designed to not, like the resonance would be taken out by the diagonal cables.
Why risk it? I agree
Keep
with
that in mind.
Okay.
The city was now connected like never before, and it would become an icon, an instantly recognizable part of the skyline. It's not over yet. Now that the monumental effort to build the bridge was complete, you might think that things would start dying down and it would become a bit humdrum. It is a bridge, after all. But no, it took just 2 days before there was another incident on the bridge. A woman was walking up the steps to the bridge when she slipped and fell, causing someone who saw it to be so startled they screamed. With everyone around them having no idea what was going on, they all assumed that something was wrong with the bridge.
They thought the bridge was falling down. They thought London Bridge was falling down.
Seeing it was one of those damn suspension bridges that just kept falling down.
Oh, no. There's a panic.
Everyone started panicking and stampeding to get off the bridge.
Elephants ran.
12 people would be killed in the stampede.
What? Because one stupid woman... Oh, I shouldn't say that. Because one woman had a little tumble. Yeah. And someone else
was like, oh!
12 people died.
And another 35 injured.
Man, people are dumb.
Someone just fell over.
Oh, no, the bridge is collapsing.
Yeah.
Oh. That's almost the same amount of people as my serial killer. Like, confirmed kills. It was unconfirmed 42, but...
12 people being killed in the stampede is more than were killed in the building of the Kazons.
Ah.
Yeah. Of course.
35 people were injured.
Yeah. And 12 killed.
Wait.
47 people injured or killed in total. And this wasn't even the 30s.
Because of one little... So next time you're walking up a set of stairs and you see those really annoying yellow strips at the stair nose, they're anti-slip. That's to stop a stampede.
They're stopping you being killed in a stampede.
Yeah.
Because as we all know, seeing someone fall over causes you to scream.
And run.
Like, even the bit where the woman screamed, I'm like, what are you screaming for? You just saw someone trip.
I can just imagine them all going, London Bridge is falling down as they're running. Like, this thing's going to fall.
Yeah. Of course, this would stoke the fear already there about the bridge's strength. And so the city.
They brought the elephants?
Turned to P.T. Barnum to bring his big old elephants to the bridge like he originally suggested.
How many elephants?
I didn't get a number on exactly how many, but it was considered a herd. And a year after the stampede, the elephants were sent across to prove to the public that the bridge was safe. This worked a charm, and people calmed down and started trusting the bridge. And then there were the people that wanted to get off the bridge in an exciting way.
It wasn't just elephants. There was camels as well.
Oh, cool.
21 elephants.
Wow.
with 17 camels.
That's a lot of animals.
That's a lot of elephant.
Bye. Love you.
Just both staring at her. I was waiting for that reaction.
I wish we had like a room cam, like one that was up there so that we could see all this stuff and add it in.
May 17th, 1884, the world's greatest showman herded up 21 elephants and 17 camels from his circus and marched them across the bridge from Brooklyn to Manhattan. 21 elephants.
That's a lot of elephants. Do you reckon you've ever seen more than one elephant?
How much?
I can't even say I've seen an elephant.
I've seen more than one elephant.
I must have seen like maybe at a zoo somewhere.
Yeah, Australia Zoo's got more than one
I
elephant.
don't think I've ever been to Australia Zoo. Just meeting people.
Oh. How much would 21 elephants weigh?
How fat one elephant?
How fat one elephant? On average, I didn't say if it was African elephants. On average, African elephants weigh 5,400 kilos.
Yeah, they're huge.
That's okay. Just going to get a calculator.
John Savage, maths extraordinaire.
Okay, you times 5,443 by 21.
Well, it's going to be about 20,000 kilos. Oh, it's going to be about 200,000 kilos, right?
No. 114,000 kilos. So what's that, 114 ton?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Sturdy bridge. Rock solid.
plus the camels. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I'm on like Microsoft Bing and they've got their Copilot AI.
Mm.
It's done it for me. On average, this is what the Copilot's done. On average, African elephants weigh 12,000 pounds, making them the largest land animal on Earth. However, male elephants can significantly be larger than females, with weights ranging between 5,000 and 14,000 pounds. Female elephants typically weigh between 6,000 and 8,000 pounds. So if we calculate the total weight of 21 elephants, it would approximately be total weight 21 times 12,000 pounds. It's 250,000 pounds. That's about 126 tons. And then it's got like 21 elephants in the emoji in there.
AI is going to beat us all.
Did you hear the AI announcement?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah. And then there were the people that wanted to get off the bridge in an exciting way.
Oh.
It was
we got people jumping off the bridge already?
Yes, we do.
Bungee jumping? Was that a thing back then?
Not bungee. It was an era where people were starting to do bigger and bigger stunts.
Mm-hmm.
And the Brooklyn Bridge would be the perfect backdrop for a feat of bravery. Robert Emmett Odlum would be the first notable jump from the bridge on May 19th, 1885.
What, just into the river?
Yep.
Yep.
It was a windy day. And when he jumped, he was pushed into an awkward position, hitting the water at an angle at about 100 kilometers an hour.
He did, right?
He would die from internal injuries 45 minutes later. This didn't deter other thrill seekers, though, with a string of daredevils accidentally ending it all off the bridge in an attempt to find fame.
Did they all die?
Not all of them. The first person to survive was in like 1910.
So they were doing it for what?
Like 5 people did it before one of them survived.
So it was the 80s it finished. So they did it for 30 years before someone.
Yeah. I know. Like after the third person, you should be like, I don't think I'm going to do that.
After the first person, be like,
Yeah.
maybe humans can't survive that.
Yeah.
Water's hard at speed.
Mm-hmm. Just slap your hand on water and you'll know. After people calm down from the flurry of attempting to survive a jump off the bridge.
These are people that just... No, I'm not going to go into it.
It would continue to be a landmark for the city in many ways. In 1950, the streetcar and train lines would be removed, adding additional lanes for cars, with an estimated 145,000 vehicles crossing the bridge each day. Finally, the bridge would get what it deserved and be listed as a National Historic Landmark in 1964 and was listed as a World Heritage Site in 2017, cementing its place as one of the most important and recognisable landmarks in the world. And that's the story.
Nice. Well, congratulations on doing a whole podcast on a bridge. That's pretty impressive.
I know. I was wondering if the feedback from you immediately would be like, I don't think this is going to play, boy. But, yeah, no, it was a very interesting
That was good.
Like just constant things being kind of wrong.
I expected more deaths in the construction phase, especially when you've got people working underwater.
Yeah, the construction was surprisingly safe.
And there was not really any deaths from the actual working underwater. Was it like the thing accidentally filling up? It was them coming up.
There was a few deaths, yeah. And there was...
I imagine there might have been a few when doing the cabling as well.
Yeah, there was a few people fell off, stuff like that. Typical for the day. But like considering construction at the time, it was about normal or less.
Yeah, no, that's... Again, like I said, I was expecting more during the construction, but 12 people in a stampede from a slip and then 5 people tried to jump off of it just to...
And like considering it's got the bad cabling in it and it's still just like...
That's right, the inferior...
Solid.
Yeah, the inferior... And it's lasted...
It was just so well designed.
What are we at now, about 150 years?
It would be about 140 by now. Yeah. It was 1880 something that it opened, so...
They don't make them like they used to.
No, they do not.
So is it one of these things, because I know like, I don't know if you ever heard like with the Story Bridge, our local area, like they repaint it and once they finish, they immediately start again.
Well, this one's stone, so it doesn't need that.
It doesn't need painting. Well, there you go. Never mind. I'm assuming there is some sort of maintenance that needs to be performed on it.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Was there any incidents of like cable snapping that they needed to replace?
One cable snapped during construction. Like it snapped off the anchorage.
Yeah.
But that was it.
But none, like, don't have one that goes pew and they got to go quick. We need to fix this. Well, that's impressive.
It's a good bridge.
Yeah. Not a bridge too far.
It was a bridge far enough. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, was that a better pun? Sorry.
That was pretty good. You should have kept that one for the start.
Yeah, thank you.
That's it.
Yeah.
We will be posting some supplemental imagery on @CheekyTalesPod, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Get your eyes on that. It will help you imagine what we're talking about and be part of the conversation. Maybe you've got an episode you'd like us to do. We have got a few episode ideas from people lately. I'll be doing one of them soon. Thank you.
Get on there. Let us know if you know any amazing stories from history or unsolved mysteries, people that deserve recognition that maybe aren't as famous as they probably should be. I'm looking at you, Jack Black's mum, Judith Lovett Cohen. Get on there. Let us know. We would love the interaction with you, the community. And get on there and let us know if you love bridges.
What's your favourite bridge?
What's your favourite bridge?
Have you got multiple?
Hornybrook. No.
Golden Gate. You know it's orange because that was the primer colour and people were like, keep it being that colour. Don't paint it.
Yeah, it's not actually gold, is it?
No.
Red. Should be the Red Gate Bridge.
I think it was like the Navy wanted it to be yellow.
Oh.
Yellow and black. Yeah. Anyway.
That's a different bridge for a different time.
Bridge fact.
Tell us your favourite
bit about bridges.
Yeah.
We will be back in another fortnight. What?
Just trying to think.
Sydney Harbour Bridge is overrated.
I was thinking of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. That's an arch bridge, isn't it? It's not a suspension bridge.
That's correct.
I've climbed it.
Have you?
Yeah, I've done the climb over the top.
Cool.
Yeah.
I've just seen it. Driven over it.
Do we have any suspension bridges in Australia?
I'm sure we do somewhere. I can't think of any. Well, you look that up.
You finish posting the episode, boy.
Posting?
Yeah, that's what they're posting at the end. You post it. You post at the start as our intro. Then you do what you did with that little wrap up. Find us on Instagram. That's a post. Posting.
Well, I've kind of done all that. So I don't really have time for you to Google.
Okay, sorry. I should have been Googling instead of rambling.
If John finds a suspension bridge, I'll put it in as a little bit at the end. Anyway, have a good evening and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Good night, Chiquitos.
Little bit.
The Walter Taylor Bridge.
Where is that?
Oh, it is closer than you think. Indooroopilly. It's the Indooroopilly Bridge. It's a suspension bridge.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
And
with the apartment where the fat man lived.
Yep. Caboolture Suspension Bridge. There's apparently one at
Okay,
Caboolture
they're
as well.
everywhere, apparently. Cool. All right. Well, it's not quite as big as Brooklyn.
I'm gonna have to be paying more attention next time I go to Intrapilli.
Little bit.